Hello and welcome to the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. My name is Pattie Chang. I am president of this Rotary Club. Thank you for joining us this week. Every week we bring to you a new program about education, innovation, technology, or humanitarian service. This week I'd like to start off by introducing some of our members on the call, and then we'll turn it over to one of our members to introduce our guest speaker. Very excited to have her with us today. In no particular order other than the order I see on my screen. To my left of my face is our immediate past president, Russian Hurley. Russian wave of everyone. Russian is the leader of his own nonprofit, Next Vista, but he's also an educator. He also is a past principal, past Japanese teacher, now author of a book. Very excited to read his book when it comes out. And he also just moved houses, so Russian's been very busy. Next to me on the other side is John Lozano. Hi, John. Perfect. John is a teacher in San Jose, working with special ed. John is also a member of our club and very excited to have him with us on this call. He is also very excited because he has been ending sessions at 1:30 p.m. this week, and next week is Thanksgiving week, so very cool. And below John, we have Shags. Shags, wave it hi to everyone. Shags is our membership chair, paella master, and also has an adorable dog who we do have photos of for a Halloween costume, which is just awesome. Shags is a money coach living in the San Francisco Bay Area near Walnut Creek. And we're going to skip over our speaker who's in the middle, but to the left of her, I see Brett. Brett is our resident Australian member. Brett is based out of Sydney, although he does travel quite a bit and sometimes is based out of Melbourne instead in Australia. And Brett works for PricewaterhouseCoopers and is a consultant there. Below everyone down there is Kenneth Oku. Wave hi to everyone, Kenneth. Kenneth is one of our awesome newer members, and he is currently a student at Loney College in Fremont in the San Francisco Bay Area studying engineering. He's an awesome guy and has some pretty cool advice and background, so definitely encourage you guys to chat with him. He's also going to be chairing our bowling event coming up. So this Sunday, bowling event, although those of you who are watching this recording next week will probably be like, oh, those are great photos of our bowling event because I just missed it, but that's okay. We'll have more. And I'd like to now turn it over to Brett. Brett is the one who introduced us to our guest speaker and has found her for us. So I'm going to turn it to him to introduce Patti to everyone. Brett, please take it away.
Thanks, Mitty. This week it's my pleasure to introduce my friend Pattie Hofland Mackenzie. I first met Patti at last year's Rotary International Convention in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and have since gotten to know her at this year's convention in Seoul, Korea, and more recently when she visited Australia to attend the Australian Rotaract Conference in Brisbane, and also when I volunteered at Zambrero's Plate for Plate Day, which involved packing meals for her organisation, Stop Hunger Now, and these will be distributed across the Philippines. Patti is a Rotaractor and works as the International Development Officer for Stop Hunger Now, which is a non-government organisation based in North Carolina, but has operations and has impact across the globe. The organisation aims to end hunger in the world by providing food and aid and has close partnerships with Rotary International. For those of you that have attended a recent international convention, you may have had the opportunity to get involved with some of their meal packaging events. Over to you, Patti.
Great. Can you guys hear me all right? Awesome. All right. Thanks, Brett. So as Brett said, I work for Stop Hunger Now. We're an international hunger relief organization, but I've been involved with Rotary and Rotaract for a couple years now, probably going on 5 or 6. And so I discovered Rotaract through Stop Hunger Now. A lot of our leadership are Rotarians, so I looked into it and happened to find that there was a Rotaract club in my area. So I quickly joined that and just dove right in and have got to be a part of a lot of different conferences and met a lot of people from all over. We have a presence every year. I've been able to go to the last 2 Rotary International conventions through work, but then get to take a little bit of extra time myself and go to the Rotary conventions, which is always great. But I'll go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully I do it correctly. Did I do the wrong one? Is it good?
We see the presenter view.
Ah, darn it. Thought I had it right. Hold on. Okay. New share. This one. Nope, not that one. This one. I think that's right.
Yep, you got it.
Good to go? All right, cool. It doesn't look right whenever I go to share it. It has like the little chat bubble in it. Anyways, great. Okay, so we're Stop Hunger Now. And our vision is a world without hunger. It's pretty simple. What we do is global hunger relief. Our founder started us back in '98, and he's had a background in domestic hunger relief in the United States, and had a really big passion for ending hunger, and then started to travel a lot internationally, and saw the need internationally and felt like he really was called to do something. And his organization, he brought back a kind of a proposal to try and expand their mission to do international hunger relief as well as domestic. And they weren't so keen on it. They were a little worried it would stretch them a bit. So luckily he was offered by a donor to start his own organization separately to work on international hunger relief. So we started back in '98 as primarily a disaster relief organization. And then in 2005, we started doing what some of you may have participated with us in, which is meal packaging. And so meal packaging is an opportunity for groups to get together, you fundraise, and you package meals that are then sent internationally all over the world. It's a really kind of fun, hands-on way for people to get together. I could try a video. Do videos tend to work for you guys on these things? Or maybe I should pass on the video this time. I'm just going to pass on it. You can go to our website and you can see some fun videos. But we do have a really cool video from the Sao Paulo Rotary Convention that some Rotarians put together for us, which is great. So what we're doing is trying to build a global movement to end hunger. So we've got offices in 6 countries right now. And then we also have distribution partners in, we've worked in 72 countries, but on average each year we're working about 30 to 40 countries. And so what we do is the meals that we package at those volunteer service events are then sent internationally to all these little places that you see a fork and spoon. Those are the countries that we're distributing our food in. But we package the meals in all the places that you see the little red stop sign globe. Those are our offices, but then we also have packaging in different countries all around the world. I think we package now in about 33 or 34 countries. So we kind of do it anywhere, which is a lot of fun. Really just trying to engage groups. It's kind of a 2-pronged mission. Our mission is to end hunger, but we feel like to do that, you need the will to end hunger. So it's about feeding people, but it's just as much about trying to get people educated about hunger, passionate about hunger, feeling like they can actually make a difference, which is where the meal packaging part really kicks in, because it's a really great way for people to feel like I can do something. It's not too big of a problem, and it's something that I can solve. And personally, I got involved because of that. I was in university, and the Haiti earthquake had just happened, and I had been to Haiti before, and so I was feeling really upset, and I had no idea how to help. I was doing fundraisers, but it really didn't feel like enough. It didn't feel like I was really touching the situation. And then my university ended up having a meal packaging event where all the meals that we packaged went towards the earthquake response. And I went to that event, and our founder spoke, and he was so passionate, and he teared up talking about what impact this was going to have on these kids and people that are going to get the food. And I just remember feeling like it just really touched me. It made me feel like I did something that was worthwhile, and ended up changing the entire trajectory of my career because of that one meal packaging event. So that's kind of, that may not happen to everybody that goes to a meal packaging event, but we hope that everybody that goes to one feels like they really can make a difference and what they do matters. So that's why we've got those happening all over the world. So the meals that we package, they're 23 essential vitamins and minerals. They're really the meat to our meals. We have rice, soy, dehydrated vegetables, and then this vitamin and mineral packet. And so they're designed to meet the WHO, World Health Organization's standards, nutritional standards. And the vitamin piece is so key because it's shown that 1 in 3 people in developing countries are suffering from vitamin and mineral deficiencies. So when you can address that piece, it can help fight a lot of the other things that people may be dying from if you can address hunger first. So this is where Rotary comes in. So I figured the easiest way to communicate what we're doing is by putting it into our 6 areas of focus. So Stop Hunger Now and what we do kind of touches on each of these areas. So I'm just going to go through, as I see it, the way that we have such a really great mission match, I guess you could say. So promoting peace, there's no food security without peace, and there's no peace without food. So, the World Food Program says that food insecurity, especially when there's like higher food prices or there's any sort of conflict that's making it harder to get to food, it can create a risk of democratic breakdown, civil conflict, protesting, rioting, and it can create conflict whenever you don't have access to food. And then naturally, when you do have conflict, food can be a very hard thing to access. So we do go into conflict areas and we supply food. In disaster response, we responded to the Nepal earthquake this year, the Haiti hurricane response. We even responded in North Carolina. They got hit pretty hard with the flooding from the recent Hurricane Matthew. So we're always ready to go with about 10% of our meals getting just ready to go and be deployed towards responding to any sort of crisis that may be happening. And then the other piece would be fighting disease. So, hunger itself, you may not think of it as a disease, but it can lead to a lot of things that could easily be cured had that problem not happened in the first place. So, around the world, hunger is killing more people each year than AIDS, malaria, and TB combined. About 1 in 9 people are going hungry every day. And there's about 2 billion people in the world that are suffering from some sort of micronutrient deficiency. And when I was traveling in Haiti, for example, I was actually with a medical kind of mission type thing. And in our clinic, some of the most common things that people were coming into the clinic for were stemming from vitamin deficiencies. So we were prescribing people just vitamins. So if you can get this vitamin sachet in the food, then they're going to have that nutritious, the nutritious piece that they need to make sure that they're healthy. And then if you think about it, like even just if in one example, like zinc, if you have a zinc deficiency, you're going to have a weakened immunity, and it's like some sort of 800,000 children that are dying every year just from a zinc deficiency because it weakens their immune system. So that could lead to getting all kinds of other diseases. So in terms of providing clean water, that's a huge piece of what we're doing. A lot of people always got worried. We didn't always do clean water system or type programs, but it kind of makes sense. When you're sending food that requires water to be cooked, you want to make sure that everywhere you're sending it has access to clean water and access to water, period. So we are operating in areas where we've helped kind of partner to build wells And in some areas, the access to water is available, but it's not clean. So we partner with another organization to help provide water filters. And so those easily fit. We have huge shipping containers of our meals that go out, and we have this tiny space at the top that seems like this huge, it's just such a sad thing to have this space and not be able to fill it. So lots of times we'll fill that with water filters or other product donations that some of our partners might need in all those different countries. And in terms of saving mothers and children, we're really trying to, we've partnered with some universities, North Carolina State University and University of Chapel Hill. They're right next to us, so we're kind of biased. But we have partnered with them to make sure that our meals are nutritiously sound. And the first 1,000 days of a child's life are the most critical. So not only making sure that the child is properly nourished, but the mother, it's so important. So we actually do work in medical clinics, and a lot of the medical clinics that we work with are almost prescribing our meals to pregnant women to make sure that they're healthy throughout their pregnancy. And then that can help to create a healthy child. And then once the child is born, you know, the medical clinic is making sure that they're, the mothers are still getting enough food, the babies are getting enough food, and sometimes it's through our meals, and sometimes we donate other products that may be a little bit better for, not better, but babies may like better, but we always support breastfeeding whenever possible. And then the big kicker that is why I just absolutely adore what we do is supporting education. And I think it's around, we've got about 80% of our meals that are going to specific, we like to call them transformational development programs. So more than half of those are schools, but we also work in like vocational training schools, orphan homes, medical clinics, elderly homes, and things like that. But a huge piece of what we're doing is within education. And so in different countries around the world, parents, if it's a very dire situation, they're often faced with the choice of sending their child to school to get an education, or sending their child to work so that they can make enough money to buy food. So if you don't have food, that's kind of priority number one. But whenever we put the meals into school, it gives parents another incentive to send their kids to school and kind of solves that problem for them. So we've seen in most of our schools that we put meals into that the attendance stays more consistent. We end up having double or triple the amount of kids end up showing up and enrolling for the school. They're able to pay attention. They can, you know, focus on their studies rather than on how hungry they are. They have a decrease in dropout rates. And overall, it's just they're better nourished, so they're healthier, so they're just focusing better. So all around, it ends up being a great thing. And then in the long run, obviously, if kids can stay in school, they can get out of school and hopefully create a better future for their community and themselves. And then in terms of growing local economies, this is something that, you know, we initially started by investing in education, and that was most of what we were doing. But once we started to realize that a lot of our schools that we've been working with and communities that we've been working with, they kind of seemed like they were getting to a level where they wanted to know what's next. How can we continue to support ourselves or be more self-sufficient? So with a lot of our partners, they're not at that stage yet, but as soon as they get to that stage where we feel and they feel that they're ready to take another step, we partner with them to do, we call them sustainable development programs. So this picture is of a tilapia farm that we helped start in this. I think this was one in Haiti, and we've done it in a couple of different places as well. And it's kind of they've got like the tilapia farm ends up feeding through a drip irrigation system that feeds their crops. So they've been able to use the crops as kind of like a community farm, and then they sell the produce as well. It's kind of I think for the beginning, they were using it as a training farm, and then they're trying to replicate it in different areas and help people to kind of make an income through selling their own produce. And then the school also uses it. So the school actually uses the tilapia that's grown there to kind of help give another piece to the meals that they get. And so this is kind of a summary of where our meals go. And I think I don't know that I mentioned it very well, but all the meals that we're sending are going to partner organizations. So we don't necessarily have our hands and feet on the ground. We partner with organizations. We have, I think we had around 40 something last year. We distributed last year to 37 countries. I'm looking back at our little packet, and we had 34 impact partners. So each year we kind of, they submit a request for how much food they need or other assistance they're looking for, or if they have specific projects they'd like to initiate. And we, depending on how much we think that we're going to be able to produce with our volunteers, are able to kind of allocate accordingly. And ideally, the partner, when we bring them on, it's a long-term partnership. So we build really close relationships with them. In almost every case, they've been working in the ground for years and years. So they know the community, they're trusted in the community. It's something that we could never get being from the United States, just coming in and saying, well, this is how we think it should be done. We really want to partner with organizations that have really great local connections, and they understand the community, they understand the leadership in the community, they have good relationships with them, and then they can try and figure out what are the needs locally and respond in that way. So a little story about what we're doing, because some people like data and some people like facts and some people like stories. I like stories. This is a little one in Chris, and Chris is from the Philippines. He's from one of our partners, our partner, International Care Ministries, sent us this story. So Chris, his family, they live in a really poor fishing village, and his mom, she would be working, taking care of the kids and taking care of the home, and her husband would go out every day, all day long, and go fishing, and he only made on average about $11 a week. And so when ICM found the family, it was Chris and his little brother Joey, that they ended up enrolling into they call it a transform program, where they provide the kids in the family with meals because the boys were severely malnourished. And then they provide, here goes my dog, and then they provide the mother with some training. So entrepreneurial training, health and sanitation trainings, and just kind of general overall life skills type training. So they did this program for about 8 weeks. And at the beginning, Chris only weighed 23 pounds, but after he weighed 35 pounds in just 8 weeks. So it was a very significant increase. And it was only Stop Hunger Now meals that were being used during that time. They fed him three meals a day for the entire 8-week program. And then by the end of the program, they were able to, I think his mom was able to start a little business where she was selling little treats and started to help with the income as well. And now they've got Chris enrolled in one of their schools, which is great. So Rotary has worked with us for a while now. We've had 4 districts that have done million meal challenges, which is just crazy, where they packaged 1 million meals throughout the year, which is awesome. We've had it in Canada. We've had a couple here on the East Coast. And then overall, Rotary has helped us package over 20 million meals, which is fantastic. We have worked with Rotarians in about 12 different countries now, maybe 13 now. I think I didn't count Korea in there, but which is really exciting. It's kind of spreading all over, and Rotary is really helping us build that network. And we're always trying to figure out, we do actually have someone on our staff who's a Rotary Relations Manager, and we're always trying to figure out how can we partner with Rotarians, because you guys have such great networks, both locally and overseas. And so we're constantly trying to figure out, well, are there Rotary groups that maybe there's an international project that we could partner on, and we could kind of be one of those that helps the local Rotary Club that's maybe enacting the international service project to actually get that and facilitate it. So we've done a couple of pilots on that in the Dominican Republic, and hopefully we'll be able to do more partnerships like that soon, which I'm excited about. So how can you guys actually get involved with us? So as a club, I don't know how often you guys meet. It sounds like you guys go bowling, which is pretty cool, but you could host a meal packaging event. We do have an office in the Bay Area, which is great. And then you could also host a fundraiser or do something to raise awareness, which would be great as well. And then anybody that's going to the Rotary National Convention, you can find us there. Last year we had a booth and a breakout session and an actual activity, the service event where you could package meals with us. So we'll definitely have the meal packaging event and the booth this year. We're still waiting to see on the breakout session, but I have good feelings about it. I think we'll be good. Seeing as it's Atlanta, it's kind of our wheelhouse down there. So we're excited about that. So you guys can find us there. And then lastly, as an individual, since I thought, maybe since you guys are an e-club, it may be good to give some individual ways you guys can get involved. You can share it. So right now you can share, if you go to any, in the United States, sorry, Brett, in the United States, if you go to any, I guess, restaurant that would have like Heinz ketchup, so like Denny's or Waffle House, or I'm blanking on names. I have no idea what would be in California chains, but any kind of restaurant that would have Heinz ketchup, they have a Selfie for Good campaign right now. And if you take a picture of yourself with the Heinz ketchup bottle and you either tweet it or text it, it donates to Stop Hunger Now. So that's really exciting. So you can share that, share it on social media. We'd love it. You can also just share about us in general. We really want to make sure that the word's getting out, that there's ways for people to get involved. You can give just $33 will feed a child for an entire year, which is crazy, but true. And you can advocate. Right now, I thought I'd throw that in there with the political elections being over. We've got a whole new set of people in office, and we do have a small advocacy effort that people can join in with us on if that's something that you're into as well. And then lastly, here's my information. You guys are more than welcome to reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever you feel like. I have Instagram. We talked about that earlier. So reach out to me. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you want to get involved, your club wants to get involved, or your business or anything. Let me know, and I'm happy to give you more information. And that's all I got, and my dog is yelling at me.
Yay. That's awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Great job. So I'm going to ask you to also stop your share screen if you get a chance.
Gotcha.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, Patty. Really appreciate it. So just, we got some questions for you. I know that some of our members probably thinking of their questions right now, because I'm going to come to each of you pretty shortly, but I'll start them off. So I just had a quick question for you regarding the Atlanta Convention. So you mentioned that you're going to have a packaging session. Do you know if it's, I know in the past it's just been the House of Friendship. Can you give some details about that for those of our members planning on going to Atlanta and they want to participate? Where would they go and when would it be?
Yeah. So this year we've been told by the HOC that we will be in the House of Friendship, and they're going to be clearing some space there for us. So it's going to be really easy to get to. I imagine it's going to be over. Normally what we'll do is last year and the year before, it's normally been around a lunchtime shift and then an afternoon shift if we can make it have two. So you can basically come in at any time whenever you guys are free. There will be information in the Rotary, like on the app and on, I think that's on the app. And then last year they had it on the website, I think. But they'll make sure to get it out. Last year, I know they had push notifications. I don't know if they're doing that yet this year. But that'll be out. And then you can just come in for as long as you want. So if you wanted to package meals for 10 minutes, you can package for 10 minutes. If you wanted to hang out for 2 hours, you can hang out for 2 hours. It's up to you. But I don't know how many meals we're going to be packaging this year, but I have high hopes that it's going to be a really big conference. So hopefully we'll be doing, last year we did around 100,000 meals. So I'm hoping we'll do about the same.
Wow. That's amazing. Right. I see your hand up.
Thanks, Mitty. Question for you, Patty. So when you talk about hunger with your organisation, is that more around like starvation? So, you know, the lack of calories or malnutrition, so people not getting enough nutrients. So I think you might have alluded to it earlier. I think the UN World Food Programme said that malnutrition is the biggest contributor to disease in the world.
Yeah. We kind of address, I would say that our meals are designed for severely malnourished people. But with how people are using them, it's really cool because people use them differently all over the world. But in our schools, you know, the areas that we're working in are developing countries. We are trying to target in the past, our partnerships have been very organic. So they've just kind of formed based off of connections. And we've been trying our hardest to get ourselves into more of in the pockets of poverty. So trying to find those areas that are maybe not getting reached by the World Food Program or other initiatives. And so we're trying to target malnutrition, but we also want to make sure that there's something sustainable. And that's why we put them into the school feeding program. So that's maybe not so much as malnutrition, but it is something that's sustainable for the kids. And normally when they're feeding our meals, they give them once a day, every day for the week. So 5 days a week.
Thank you for that. Quick question for you, Patty. How long do the meals last for?
They're actually, their shelf life is about 2 years. They were 3, but we put it down to 2 just to be a little bit safer. They can last a little bit longer than that, but they're all dehydrated. So it's, most of our meals are going out on shipping containers. So it takes a while to get to the end destination. When they get there, I've actually talked to a Rotary Club here locally, and I had no idea, but somebody in the club had actually seen our meals in Haiti, and they were so excited that I was there because they were like, you have no idea. People they're literally like locking it up, guarding it. It's like the most precious thing to have the food there. So we have to make sure that it lasts because a lot of times they're getting a big shipment of it and it'll last them for like the entire year.
Wow. Thanks. John, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the presentation. It's great to see these things happening all over the world. And I noticed that we did have a spot here in the Bay Area, I guess, that we can have an event at. But I was just wondering what would be the age requirements. I mean, I work at a school and we have kids who want to do service projects. Would it be something that we could take students aside from like a Rotary group being there or something like that? Or if there's any cost involved with when we go there, do we donate and package food?
Yeah, so there's no age requirements. We've had as little as like 3 years old, and we've had as old as I think 103 was the oldest. So we'll span. There's a lot of different jobs that people can do, and we've had events at kindergartens, even a preschool once, which I'm sure was just chaos. But there is a donation associated with it, so it's 29 cents US per meal that you're packaging. But if you're going to like our warehouse, you can fundraise and just package whatever you guys end up fundraising for. And then we also have it to where it's mobile. So we'll actually come to you. So a lot of the clubs that we work with, they find a venue that maybe it's where they always have their Rotary meetings or something like that. And we'll actually come to you and we set everything up and you do the event. It takes about 2 hours, and then we'll pack everything back up, and then off we go and we send it off and let you know where everything goes. So it can be either way.
That's awesome. Thanks, Patty. And then I'm turning to Rushton for a question or a comment. Rushton, take it away.
Great presentation. Cool stuff. I love the story about Chris in the Philippines. stories, I think, are what get people to take an idea and like get it from kind of their head to their heart, and they act on it. I'm curious, in the partnerships you've done, because I'm looking at your site, looking at the different things that are there, the 2015 report and all, and this is the 10th anniversary, is that right, of the founding?
Well, it's of our meal packaging.
Okay.
Yeah.
In partnering with different organizations around the world, is there a story of one where you're like, this was a particularly productive opportunity because these people were really innovative in what they were doing? So not necessarily like the best partnership you've ever had, but just one that allowed you as an organization to kind of say, hey, here's a different way we can approach this, or what an interesting thing this is in terms of how we think about what we do.
Yeah, sure. So I would say, ICM, the partner that I talked about, Chris, I'm a little biased. I've got to see them a couple times now, but I think that they're especially interesting because they are within the Philippines. It's something like 98% Christian. And so all of the communities that they're working in are kind of surrounded by a pastor, and that's kind of their network. So what they've done is created a network of pastors. And so the pastor kind of helps start up one of the kindergartens. He looks for the needs. So in a lot of areas that's a little more rural, they're able to most of the time they're able to get to like a primary and secondary school, but the kindergarten piece and preschool is a little bit harder. So they'll start up a preschool or a kindergarten in areas that have, maybe it's a community that has 10 or 15 kids that they think would go to it, or kids in the surrounding areas, and they help start one up. And then the kids go to the school, they receive the meals in the school, and then all the parents are able to go through their the program that they have, Transform program, where you'll get it's a similar thing, where 8 weeks they get to go through a training. So they learn life skills, entrepreneurial skills, health lessons. For example, we got to go and see some of their lessons that they were teaching, and they were teaching you how to start a community savings bank because there are not banks out there. So they were teaching people how to save money and how to keep a budget. They're giving them tips on how to advertise their products, let's say, that they're selling. And so one woman that I talked to, she was making, I think it was on average around, I don't know what it would be in US dollars, but it was something around like 1,000 Filipino pesos a week. And by the end of the program, she had quadrupled it. So that was pretty impressive. And that was just by selling and advertising her things. So there's things like that they're using the food as an incentive to get these, it's mostly women that end up going, but they use it as an incentive to get them to go. And then by the end of it, they kind of are seeing themselves better themselves and the entire community, which is really cool. And then we've also just seen really innovative ways of doing things like the meal bags that we have. I was in Vietnam, and it's Cambodia. I was in Cambodia, and there was this orphanage, and they use the meals, but they actually reuse everything. So they reused the bags that the meals came in to plant seedlings, to start their gardens. They used the boxes to coat the sides of their homes to add more reinforcement, and then they cooked the food. And so I was like, that is just not how I anticipated this going. So it was really cool to see them using it in all these different ways all around their property. So that was pretty cool too.
Awesome. Brett, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Have you ever tried one of the meals, Patti, and what do they taste like, or what's the texture like?
I have. So I've had it in a couple of different countries too. So it depends on the country, how you make it. If you make it in we have instructions on the back of the meal, and if you make it in that typical way, it's kind of like, I don't know, just kind of like a rice porridge, I guess you could say. It's pretty bland, but only because we know that our partners like to add their own flavor to it internationally. So You know, when I was in Vietnam, they made it into a soup. And so they added different spices or vegetables and stuff to it. And then whenever I was in the Philippines, they make it into more of a porridge type thing. So it's kind of, I don't know, it makes me think of oatmeal. But the cool thing is we also have, so we have 6 offices internationally, and each of those offices have different meals that are customized to that country. So we have an office in the Philippines, and so they don't produce enough meals, so we still send some from the United States, but they do produce a majority of it. But they actually have 6 different flavors of meals. So they have coconut, they have chicken, they have beef, they have fish, and they have chocolate. So that way they have variety for the recipients, because they realize that most of the time the recipients there couldn't afford to put anything else in it. So they wanted to make sure that it was really varied in that country, which was pretty cool. I thought that was great. So it's different in different countries. If you were to have it in India, it has lentils or dal in it. A lot of, I don't know, in South Africa, I think it's pretty similar, but they also use like a split pea instead of in the United States, we use dehydrated vegetables. And yeah, it just depends, you know, like in Latin American countries, they put a bunch of hot sauce on it. And we've even heard in some countries where they're sticking ketchup on it. So you never know.
I think I've done the milk packaging twice or 3 times now, and I recall that at the different events, there were different ingredients going in to the packages.
Yeah, it just depends. So if we know, which in most of these cases we do know ahead of time for the Rotary conventions, if we know ahead of time where it's going, we can customize it a little bit better, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing. Patti, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We really appreciate it. That's all the time we have for questions. I'm going to turn it back to you for a closing comment, and then we'll end our meeting.
All righty. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. And it was really cool to see how an eClub works. I haven't been, I mean, I'm kind of technically helping with an e-Rotary club, but we haven't figured everything out yet. So it was nice to be on your meeting and see how you guys do things. It's a lot of fun. And thanks for having me. If you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out. Just ping Mitty or Brett for my information, and happy to talk with you guys further. Thanks.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Patti. Our guest again this week has been Pattie Mckenzie with Stop Hunger Now. Make sure, don't forget to check out the links below this video that will have a link directly to the Stop Hunger Now website, and then a link to that video that Patti had just briefly referenced but didn't show. And then leave a comment at the bottom of the meeting. Tell us what you thought. And if you have a question for Patti, ask her, and we'll reach out to her to see if she can respond. Thank you so much for checking us out this week, and we hope to see you next week. Bye, everyone.